Hey, folks, today we're going to talk with former Judge Leonard Freeling with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. We're going to talk about the changes in marijuana laws this past election and also the big picture on the drug war. We're also going to talk with Arlen Christensen about shopping locally, not just where you spend your money, but how you donate your money. And later in the program, Dan Kelly is going to join us. And at some point today, Maddie, myself, and my bike may talk about bad hair days.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
Hello, Mid-American Energy.
I'm very concerned that you want to bill me an extra $5,000 to build a nuclear reactor. Do you know we're in the middle of a recession?
Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't hear about that until after the legislature had taken action.
Why not let your shareholders pick up the tab?
Oh, way too risky for our shareholders. We need you, our loyal customers, to pay for it.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. Mid-American wants to build a nuclear power plant in 10 or 20 years, and they want me to pay for it now?
That's right.
Well, I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, we're a monopoly. What we say goes.
I've heard nuclear power is more expensive than other sources.
Yes it is.
And I've heard there's no plan for how to dispose of nuclear waste.
We're looking at shooting it into the sun.
Well, I'm not going to sit back and let you make bad decisions with my money.
We're betting you will.
Stop Mid-American's power grab. Call your legislators today. 281-3371. 281-3371.
Paid for by Physicians for Social Responsibility.
Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Microphone in place. Computer not exactly behaving itself, but, such is the world with technology today. I'm delighted to have a very diverse show for you today, folks. Later in the program, State Representative Dan Kelly going to join us. Also, we have Arlen Christensen, a former executive director of a nonprofit organization who has a take on nonprofits this holiday season that I think is pretty important. It's the local angle, but taken not just to the where you shop, but where you donate. Okay, so in the meantime, though, we've got a great conversation lining up here with Lenny Freeling. Hello, Mr. Freeling. How are you?
Ed, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. And you're a former judge.
Yes, sir.
And you live in Colorado, I believe?
I do. Eastern Boulder County.
Oh, that's a great place. One of my favorite parts of the country.
Well, me too.
Yeah. Well, and you are with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition.
I am honored to be a speaker, and it's one of those clubs that I'm surprised they let me join. I am a small man in a room of giants.
Well, if you were a former judge, then you certainly have some flavor for the issues that face law enforcement relevant to the failed drug war. Can I call it the failed drug war?
If 100 years of not winning is failure, then you're on good, safe ground.
So the drug war and the Chicago Cubs have something in common, is what you're saying?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, except the drug war, the SWAT uniforms, they have better uniforms. and they do have better toys if shooting the family dog, and stuff like that is up your alley.
Well, in Chicago, they settle on taking out their vengeance against goats that happen to jinx a team. But that's another. You probably aren't up to snuff on Chicago baseball politics.
True.
Yeah.
True. And don't get me wrong, there are many law enforcement personnel that are wonderful people doing a wonderful job.
Sure.
We just need to get them out of the drug business. In the words of one of the Mexican presidential candidates just before this last election, fighting the drug war is not suitable work for the military. For the same reason, it's not suitable work for law enforcement.
So folks with your organization and folks from our perspective, because we pretty much agree on this, should be pretty happy about the outcome of the most recent election. And again, I'm about as far away from a pot user now or ever as you can possibly get and still be, alive in the 21st century. But I just think our whole approach to dealing with drugs is off base, and I'm delighted to see 2 states now moving forward with legalization.
2 things come to mind. First, you're going to love this. This is so manipulative. We're encouraging shopping locally.
Okay, that ties in really well with my next segment, but tell me more about the particular angle when it comes to drugs.
Well, from the marijuana point of view, we want to grow it in Colorado, process it in Colorado, and consume it in Colorado, locally. We encourage other states to do that. We're certainly politically willing to share what we think we've learned. And I also refer you to what I call the 40%ers. In Colorado, of the people that voted in favor of legalization, regulate like alcohol, 40%, give or take, don't smoke.
Okay.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
That's a huge number of people saying, we just don't care if someone else smokes at home in their living room or not.
And that's kind of my take too. It's not a habit I feel like recommending to anybody, except maybe you can make an argument in case of medical issues. But I think it's better to go through life as sober as possible on all fronts. But again, why do we get so upset? It can be challenging, yes, with especially with the way Congress is behaving in these recent years. But yeah, now, so your state in particular and Washington are going to be interesting testing grounds to see how this plays out.
The cannabis people, Colorado normal, national normal, and as many other people as we can get on board are working, I think it's fair to say, as cooperatively and helpfully as we can with Governor Hickenlooper's office to make this happen and to make it happen in a sane way. We want to legislate sanely, not legislate insanity.
Yeah.
Always I had that catchphrase better at one time. I'll work on it.
Yeah. Folks, if you'd like to join the conversation, the first segment of our show is a dialogue with Lenny Freeling with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. He's a former judge. He resides in Colorado, and I presume you might have been a judge in Colorado?
Correct, in Lafayette, Colorado.
All right. And we're talking about the drug war. We're talking about the changes in both public attitudes and in state laws regarding marijuana after the last election. And Lenny, you make the interesting point. If folks are going to use marijuana, they might as well shop local, grow the stuff local, buy it local, keep the profits local. Let me ask you, there is an economic side to this, and one of a couple different economic angles is the Mexican economy. Again, there's a heck of a lot of drugs produced, grown in Mexico that find their way across the border, and nobody condones that. Nobody likes that situation. That's why I'm surprised there aren't more people jumping on the bandwagon that you and I are riding on. But that's
more people are jumping on.
That's true. Yes,
couple at a time.
Couple at a time, right? But the economic impact of the drug trade for Mexico is significant. I mean, so is the devastation, particularly in border cities, wrought by the violence, the hostility between various factions in the drug war there. But what is that? Is there such an impact economically on the Mexican economy that we might see a pushback from some direction against efforts to legalize marijuana here?
My understanding of the Mexican military and the Mexican police is that a significant portion of it is infiltrated by and run by the cartels.
Yes.
to the extent that those two things are the same thing, taking away from the economy of one, the cash flow of one takes away the cash flow of the other. If we look at the civilians, you know, I hate this phrase, but how do you value a single life? And well, I hate it because you can't.
You can't, exactly. You cannot.
We will see as the drug war tames down, and it'll take more than 2 states. The number I heard was 3 states could eliminate about 75% of the Mexican drug cartel's marijuana income.
Okay.
That's a specific number.
Right.
It's not heroin. It's not methamphetamine, but it's beginning to make a dent in the cartel money. Will that decrease the deaths, improve tourism, improve Mexico's economy in general?
Okay.
Yes, on the tourism.
Yeah.
On the economy in general, I'm the wrong person to ask because the honest answer is I don't know, but we have to do it. It's a paradigm shift. My fantasy would be long-term, it works better.
Okay, now the other economic angle on this, Lenny, is that we have we're spending a lot of money right now on law enforcement to fight the drug war. I mean, there are lawyers, police officers, law enforcement at other levels, private law enforcement folks. You've got a whole infrastructure in place.
Industrial complex.
The prison industrial complex, let's call it that. It's a huge infrastructure. There's a lot of money in it, a lot of jobs, a lot of people who really don't want to see any change because it means they would lose status and maybe even their job.
That many will need to find different employment. For example, I can envision a world where law enforcement officers fight real crimes. If cocaine has no value, it loses the crime aspect. If heroin has no value, and inherently it doesn't, intrinsically it doesn't, then U.S. citizens who are sadly heroin addicts won't be buying the Taliban bullets to shoot at us.
So what do you say to the argument that if you legalize drugs, there will be more drug abuse?
Historically, that is not the case. Historically, drugs have not been illegal. They've been legal, and the illegal stuff started late 1800s up through 1937, and then again reinvigorated by the late President Nixon. But if we go back, in the case of marijuana, 5,000 or 10,000 years, in the case of opiates, perhaps 5,000, 10,000 years or more, we have people that will have addiction issues. Right. And one can overcome an addiction. One can't overcome a conviction. My belief is that although we may see a temporary bump in the percentage of people who, say, have a heroin problem if we legalized it, my guess is you and I wouldn't be dropping the microphones, running down to Walmart to get the heroin sale. Most people will say, I wasn't interested before, and I probably could have gotten it. I'm not interested now, and I can get it more easily, and I'm still not interested. Yeah. It's not health food.
Folks, we're talking with Lenny Freeling. He's with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. We're talking about the drug war and the recent changes to drug policy because of laws enacted by the general population, by the voters of Colorado and Washington states. You're welcome to join the conversation at 244-0077, 244-0077. And I want to go to our phone lines, but first I want to thank Brother Trucker for providing the bumper music to kick off this show. I want to thank Physicians for Social Responsibility and the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club. I also want to thank Reynolds Energy Solution for sponsoring this segment of our program. Let's go to line 2. Who do we got, Maddie? Oh, Frank. Frank, Lenny, I got to warn you. Frank is like my one dedicated, reliable, religiously and socially conservative listener. Frank, welcome to the show.
As we say in the biz, love you, man. Hey, how you doing?
What's on your mind, Frank?
Well, Ed, I've seen 2 impressive things in my life.
This show, and what was the other one?
Well, rats won't quit trying to chew their way into my house, and the drug lobby won't quit trying to legalize recreational marijuana use. Boy, those are impressive things. Hey, why don't we legalize murder? Oh, wait, we've done that. Let's legalize stealing.
Frank, Frank, come on.
Hang on, Ed, hang on. Do we have standards in this country for anything, and should we hold the standards up even if nobody wants to abide by them?
Lenny, do you want to respond, or do you want me to take this guy out? All right.
I would love to. In the last 10 hours, I would bet money that alcohol has fueled a homicide in the United States. Probably domestic, I'm probably right. In 5,000 years of recorded medical application and 10,000 years of documented application, marijuana by itself has killed no one. Zero. So equating it to murder, I think it's fair to say that's not a logical connection.
Are you serious? There's first off, there's no way to directly prove that one way or the other. And how about the drug and cartel killings because of marijuana?
We are trying very hard to eliminate that by taking the reason there are killings related to the drug business in general is that drugs cost money, addicts will pay it, and they will do whatever they need to do to get the money, and the local gangs that sell it will do whatever they need to do to protect their turf. Thus, it is the value, the price, created by the government and supported by the government, which leads to all that secondary crime. If, for example, the government gave away heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine free, it would create problems, granted, but there would be no underground market, there'd be no funding to the cartels, and that secondary crime that is all related and created by this government price-supported industry, it ceases to exist because there's no longer a reason for it.
Well, I suggest not putting people in prison. I suggest mandatory drug rehab. But let me ask you a question. If you got kids, grandkids, do you want your school bus driver, me, or somebody like me, driving your kids back to school on heroin? When you go in for heart surgery, do you want your guy on opiate or heroin?
Frank, I don't want you driving my kids to and from school whether you're on drugs or not.
Well, listen, I have a Class B passenger. I have a Class B CDL with a passenger's endorsement, so I can do that if I choose. Do you want me high as a kite
Frank,
you think I'm a little whack now? Do you want me high as a kite driving your kids to school?
Frank, the answer is really easy. Of course not.
Okay.
And here's where the challenge lies. Where we are lacking, we know a lot about, say, marijuana, over 20,000 studies. Here's what's lacking. What's lacking is an impairment-based test. We have no quick, easy way to determine if a driver, an airplane pilot, a surgeon, or anyone else, where it's appropriate, let's say there's reasonable suspicion to believe that they're impaired by who the hell knows what, we need impairment-based testing to protect us from the idiots who would try something like that. And you and I would probably agree there are some idiots out there.
Frank, thanks for the call, Frank, as always. Let me get one more call in before we got to run to a break and go on to our next segment. Let's go to line 3. Who do we got, Maddie?
Yeah, you got me?
This is Ed from Martinsdale.
Oh, hey, Ed. This is Ed from Des Moines.
How are you, Ed?
Good.
Good. See, I got one quick question for your guest here, Ed.
All right.
Sounds like he might be able to help us out a little bit. We've got one state legislator up here that leads the whole effort to stop anything that we do along these lines. And he puffs all up. He's a retired highway patrolman that puffs all up, stomps around like a little curmudgeon up there yelling about soft on crime, you know, and pretty well squashes any effort. What would you suggest that we do to try to cool this guy's jets a little bit?
It's an easy and incredibly difficult question. The first thing that comes to mind is, if you contact me off the air, I'll share everything I think I know. On the air, quick answer, education. As the populace, as the electorate becomes more educated, people like that appear to be more ridiculous. Education is the key to having stupidity be revealed for what it is.
Lenny, excellent point. Ed, I think I know who you're talking about. I'm not sure the guy is educable.
No, but the population is, the electorate is.
Right. Good point.
Yep, I think that's the key. We got to educate around this guy. Yeah, I don't think that's an option for this guy.
Ed, thanks for the phone call.
You betcha. Thank you. Good program.
And Lenny, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with your work. Enjoy Boulder, Colorado. It's one of the best places on the planet.
Thank you. Perhaps a morning constitutional is called for.
I would go forth and engage in such morning constitutional. Here, I cannot do that because it is already the afternoon.
Gotcha.
All right, I'll see you. Thanks. Take care. Folks, stick around. We're going to talk with Arlen Christensen next about buying local. We're going to talk about how that applies not just to local businesses, but to local nonprofits. I want to thank Reynolds Energy Solution for sponsoring this segment of our program. The energy audits that Tim Reynolds will do for you are very, very thorough, more thorough than anything you've probably ever had done. And they are also free. They cost you nothing, zip nada, nothing at all. And you will learn a lot of things about what you can do to tighten up your home, waste less energy, and save a bunch of money. And a lot of the stuff that Tim might recommend you do comes with a rebate. But there's no obligation for you to do any of that. The audit is free. You decide where to go from there. But give them a shout today, 802-2801, 802-2801, or ReynoldsEnergySolutions.com. We'll be back in a minute. And at some point, Maddie and I may have to discuss and compare notes on our bad hair day.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The fighting burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. That's Babers Neighbors with Ode to Jones. Thanks for sticking around here for the second segment of our program. I want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment. I want to remind folks about the laughing lawsuits are no laughing matter comedy show coming up January 13th. This is with Lee Camp, a nationally recognized comedian who is coming to Des Moines to help with a fundraiser to keep me out of the big house. That's right. Leonard Boswell has sued me. And it's the first time a congressman in Iowa has ever sued a resident of the state over slander. So we'll see where that goes. Again, I said what I said because it's true. We'll see where that goes, but I do hope you can come on the 13th because this is going to be a really, really fun time. We got some local talent as well, and Andy Fleming with Brother Trucker will play for us as well. That's going to be at House of Bricks on the 13th of January at 7 p.m. But meanwhile, we're gonna welcome Arlen Christensen to the show here. But I gotta tell you, Maddie and I were talking, and I've been trying to hold out on a haircut because I really want to go to this. The oldest family-owned barbershop in the country is on the route of my travel coming up here. So I was thinking, okay, I can hold on long enough and get that. But I've got this. I mean, this is going from like crazy, bad, weird professorial look to mad scientist look. And if it gets any longer, I'll be the guy under the bridge who your kids are afraid of look. Maddie, you can kind of relate. You've had a bad hair day once or twice, haven't you?
Kinda. Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely a bad hair day, Maddie.
It could be worse.
It could be worse,
longer.
but it's not that good. It's a bad hair day. Okay, but there are others out there who have even worse bad hair days than us. Yes, that's right. Every day of its life, the white-crested black Polish, one of my favorite hens, by the way, has a bad hair day. Now, my bike also is having a bad hair day, but she's crafty enough to cover it up with this fancy top hat here.
That's right. I never have a bad hat day.
No, you can never have a bad hat day. But you can have a bad hair day. Or you can move on to intelligent conversation, for example, with Arlen Christensen. Arlen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Ed.
And you're calling us from Minneapolis, is that correct?
No, actually from Wilmer, Minnesota.
Okay, different towns, right state. Okay, very good. And you have been a nonprofit executive in your past life.
That's correct.
And you are advising all of us to be careful about what we do this Christmas shopping season. Can I call it the Christmas shopping season? Can I just be honest about it? That's what it is now, Eddie?
Absolutely. I would also say maybe year-round as well.
Yeah, the year-round. The American pastime of
right.
shopping.
The first thing that I'd just like to say is thank you to all those that do donate to any nonprofit or charity, because the giving of your contribution and your valuable time is so precious to those at the receiving end.
Yeah.
It is just a very valuable gift. There are a lot of cities across the United States that have kind of adopted a phrase, a logo, buy local first.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of why I kind of got on this kick about donate local first. I've been a nonprofit executive director, as you've stated, and I've seen the results of people donating their money in very good intentions, and they donate it to the state parent organization or to the national organization or the charity of their choice.
Right.
And somehow that doesn't seem to trickle down to their local organization.
It's not that different from the retail economy itself. You can shop at a mom and pop store, or in my preference in terms of groceries is Gateway Market. It keeps the money right here in the community. You go spend that at Walmart or something, and it's pretty much filtered away to other parts.
Absolutely. And in today's economy, every dollar counts. And whether it's in your family, business, or nonprofits' budgets, and whether that's local nonprofits or the state entities. And it's a real big thing that people should really educate themselves to which charity they would like to give their money to and their donations to, but also not only educate which charity, but whether to donate to the state or national organization, or if you have a local affiliation inside your community. I think they should educate themselves by calling someone local in that organization.
So, for example, the Red Cross, and maybe this is not an example you're specifically familiar with, but Red Cross, huge national and even international presence, but we've got a pretty strong organization right here in Des Moines. I mean, can you contribute specifically to the local Red Cross, or is it all spread across the organization?
Well, I think most local chapters, a lot of the state and national affiliations that have smaller chapters, such as the Red Cross, and I'm not real familiar with that, but I believe they also get their funding. The local entity gets some funding from the national. But on the local end of it, local chapters are required to try to raise money to have locally. And that's some of the organizations that I've been involved with. Some or very little money trickles down from the national organization to the smaller chapters.
Right. Yeah. In most cases, again, I was in the nonprofit world for a long time. I founded a nonprofit back in 1987, actually 86, and I've actually founded several nonprofits, and I've always avoided affiliating with a national organization because, in my experience, national organizations are good about sucking resources from the local community. Yeah, there are some things they can give back to you, but for the most part, you're going to be sending a lot more money their direction than coming the other direction, just as the case with income taxes. I mean, we pay taxes here to the federal government. Some of it comes back, but not as much as we send out. So how do you get around that problem? If the organization you want to support is affiliated with a national organization, almost certainly money is going to be going that direction. And I can think of one very small but very vocal peace group here in Des Moines that's been around for a long time. Anytime you write a check to the local peace group, that goes to the national, and then they get a cut of it. But they don't. It's less. I want to say it's around 30-40% that they get. But still, the bulk of that, even though you think you're writing the check to the local organization, it goes to the national. How do you avoid that?
That's why I try to educate and have the people call their local affiliation to see how their donation would be used. And I don't want to discourage anyone from donating to the state or national organization because there is a need to fund them on the
This is true.
Larger picture. Yes. But a lot of times the national organizations have large contributors, a lot of major corporate sponsorships, things like that. I'm speaking for the entities that I've worked with, and I know that very little money trickles down, and we here have to locally raise our own revenue to keep our office going, things like that. The programs, are out there, but to keep our local office going and personnel and office supplies and just in general what we need, we have to raise a lot of money locally.
Do you have any data, Arlen, on how much money is donated to nonprofit groups this time of the year? I mean, obviously, folks are spending more money this time of the year on shopping, generally speaking, but in terms of nonprofits receiving donations throughout the year, is this the best time of the year for them typically?
I don't have any hard data in front of me on that. I would say typically, yes, this is the most time of the season that most people give to the charities. And another thing is most times local chapters also pay a yearly dues, or what we used to call FSO, which is fair share obligations, to the national affiliation just to be a part of them. And so some of the money, yes, is trickling back from the local to the national organization. Like you said, if you cut a check here, how much does?
I'd love to send the conversation that soundbite you just made there. That would be perfect to share with the Michigan GOP and the governor of Michigan, who just signed the Right to Work bill. I like what you say about the local organization paying its fair share toward the services provided by the national organization. Again, the situation in Michigan is on my mind, so I thought that was a great comparison, even though you didn't intend it that way. Sure. My comparison, not yours, but thanks for the language.
Sure. And whether the nonprofit is in a big city or a small town USA, your donation at the local level, you can see your local dollars, your dollars, hopefully going to work. I mean, what better way to see your dollars than knowing that you helped your friend or your neighbor or your coworker in their time of need? And that's why I try to get people to educate themselves by just talking with the local front to see if they do donate, is it better to donate at the national level, local level, or does it matter? And like you were saying, sometimes when you cut the check locally, part of that has to go to the state. But that would be educating yourself on what you want to do.
Yeah, maybe even most of it in some cases.
Yes, yeah. And one of the things, too, is sometimes, I have a lot of people say, well, I just donate one check to the bigger entity. And I say that's great. I mean, I think all charities are worthwhile. But if you prefer to donate to the cause of the nonprofit and usually just send your money to the state, consider splitting your contribution into half. Yeah. Half to the national and send half to the local.
And again, I totally understand the importance of national nonprofit groups. Again, sometimes they do suck local areas dry without providing much in return, but oftentimes they're doing important work relevant to research and lobbying and contacts they can make that help push that issue forward. But they tend to be much more able to tap into that grant money, that foundation money, those big donors than local groups can. So every dollar I donate philanthropically goes to a local organization, and one that I particularly feel good about. I mean, there's an example, and not all local organizations are worth supporting either. I know there's one here in Des Moines that purports to be helping the homeless, the Bethel Mission, I'll call it what it is, and they do a horrible job. That's another conversation and one I've had on the show before, but I'm just saying it makes really good sense to be careful, not just about making sure that a decent percentage, if not all of that donation stays local, but make sure that the organization you're donating to is really doing what it purports to be doing.
That's correct. And here in Minnesota, we have the Minnesota Charities Review Council that you can go on the website and check out any charity in Minnesota to see what their rating is. And you can look at their 990s, their tax 990s. You can see how much went for programs, how much went for staff, and things like that. And you can see how much of your money is being spent on actual programs.
That's handy. Huh, yeah. Very good. Well, Arlen, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
Thank you so much, Ed. I think this is an important topic, whether it's Christmas time or whether it's any time during the year. Educate yourself, and educate yourself.
Right. Know how you're spending your dollars, whether it's on product or on supporting some organization you like the work they're doing. So.
That's correct.
All right, Arlen, thank you so much. Folks, I want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment of our program. Gateway is at 20th and Woodland. They're in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. And they're our local grocery store, not just for Sherman Hill, but for a broad area. And again, they keep their money local. You know, it's that reason that what you spend at Gateway stays in the local community. And a lot of the stuff you will buy at Gateway, a lot of the products, dairy, produce, meat, it comes from local sources, local farmers, local businesses that provide that product. So definitely check them out. Definitely support them. They're also open for breakfast, lunch, and supper in the Gateway Cafe. And consider the catering service, this time of the year in particular, when you've got holiday parties coming down left and right. Big and small, Gateway can cater those parties. Give them a shout, folks, at gatewaymarket.com. And again, thank them for supporting the Fallon Forum and for the alternative to right-wing radio. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to talk more politics. Stay tuned.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of Webcast1Live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
Hi, Hi, folks. It's Ed Fallon here. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. You've probably been there for their award-winning, nationally recognized lunch specials. And here's where the chefs really get creative. Let me tell you, they're like artists, okay? I've been there, and it is one of the best meals I have had in Des Moines. I've heard that from other people. You got to check it out. Proof for supper. Do not assume you can get in. Make reservations. Contact Proof Restaurant online at proofrestaurant.com or 244-0655. That's 244-0655.
Ludwig van Beethoven here. I used to be so tired all the time, not from composing and playing, but from moving my piano. But now I feel so much better. I call S&P Piano, and they will bring my piano anywhere. They also sell and rent pianos, used ones, new ones. You get the idea.
Call S&P Piano right away at 208-6453. That's 208-6453.
S&P Piano.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Yeah, I know I need a haircut, so leave me alone, okay? Get off it. It'll happen. Hopefully before tomorrow, because I'm going to be on Iowa Press tomorrow. So. They don't let me wear my hat there, I don't think. And maybe they would, but I don't even want to find out. I just think it's time to get a dang haircut. I've been saving up for the day when I go through the town where the oldest family-owned barbershop in the country exists. It's 4 generations. I thought, well, how cool is that? I need to get my haircut there. So I've been saving up in order to get my money's worth. But, yeah, so it ain't going to happen, though, if I'm going to be on TV tomorrow. Anyway, folks, Dan Kelly is with us. Dan, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Ed. I got to say, Ed, you without the hat is like Superman without the cape.
Okay, so maybe I should just keep the hat on.
I think you better wear the hat. At least try to wear it on camera. Yeah, what happens. That's your trademark.
All right, yes. And what is your trademark?
I don't have one yet.
Oh well, you just got elected to your second term.
That's
so
right.
I don't
have a trademark yet, but we'll work on that.
All right. Well. Yeah, Merry Christmas, Dan.
I tried out the sweater vest last year, but somebody else took that.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
A Republican or Democrat?
One of the presidential candidates on the other sweater side.
Vest, Republican.
Yeah, I remember Santorum started wearing the sweater vest.
Oh, and so you didn't think it was really wise to be associated with Rick Santorum?
I didn't want to seem like I was copying, but I was wearing them before anybody knew who he was. So,
sweater vest was I was talking about the Boston Tea Party. I was talking about the Boston Tea Party as a powerful forum for or a symbol for social change, here in America. Well before the.
I'm just talking about the sweater vest, Ed. All right, it's not that complex.
All right. All right. Well, we'll move on to things that are more complex.
There's nothing political about it. I just like wearing sweater vests.
You know what else should not be that political? What else should not be political is passenger rail.
No.
I mean, especially when you've got the federal government really pushing, I mean, it makes sense to diversify transportation, just like agriculture or your stock portfolio or the number of discs and CDs you play as a disc jockey.
That's right.
Jockey. It makes sense to have diversity. So why not have a better train system? And we've got, again, the plan for putting passenger rail across the state going through your hometown of Newton.
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense economically, again, in terms of environmentally, cost-wise over the long haul. It's going to be a good investment.
Makes great sense on race days. I'd love to see folks traveling from Chicago and Omaha arrive at the Iowa Speedway via train.
Okay, well,
that would be fantastic.
I presume that the train would go through downtown Newton, right?
There is an older train depot in Newton, but I don't think that's part of this plan.
So it'd be kind of funny to have the track go right through the middle of the racing.
You probably wouldn't go right through there, but
cool.
But
have a train come through wild
certainly
races
it could be close enough. We could set up a shuttle.
All right, yeah. Set up a shuttle.
If race fans want to go to the Speedway, we'll get them there. That's right.
If folks want to multitask, they can go to the Speedway and the prison on one day. Maybe the shuttle will take them both places.
That would probably not be appreciated. But
okay, so I mean, why do we still have opposition to this? Why is Governor Branstad continuing to fight passenger rail, and House Republicans here in the state? I mean, zeroing out the appropriation that brings in a 4 or 5 to 1 federal match. It makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah. Well, we need to, like, as you say, diversify, and we also need to focus on public transportation. And this allows us to do both.
But where does the opposition come from? Do you hear anything behind? Do you hear mumblings in the hallway about why they really want to kill passenger rail in this state?
Well, I think they have maybe some constituents don't quite understand what this is about. This is about diversifying our portfolio, and it's also about focusing on mass transportation, because these are areas that we need to move forward in, not only in the state of Iowa, but throughout the country. And I think they probably hear from constituents who think it's a waste of money because they'll never use it.
Well, now, are constituents the problem, or are contributors the problem? Is it the road lobby? Is it the folks who want all of the transportation dollars to go right to roads and that's it, who don't want to see any competition?
Well,
is that who it is?
I think that's certainly a possibility, but I've talked to some constituents that I have who oppose this because they say they'll never use it, so they don't want to put tax dollars into it because they'll never use it. Yeah, well, what we're doing is we're throwing away a lot of federal grants that could come into the state of Iowa by backing away from this project, and we're also not taking the commitment to mass transportation the way we should by backing away from it.
And the train would initially go around maybe just under 80 miles an hour, I think. Yeah. But the plan is to get it up to 110 miles per hour.
Yeah, I've heard 80 to 85 would be standard.
But 100, I mean, the system would be designed to accommodate speeds up to 110. So you'd be looking at a 6-hour journey from Omaha to Chicago.
Right.
That's faster than you can drive.
It's very fast.
Hopefully that's faster than you can drive.
Well, it is. It is. I mean, from Newton, it takes about 4.5 hours to drive to Chicago. Once you get to Chicago, you got to negotiate through the heavy traffic. And,
on the train you go right
on the train you go straight into town.
Yeah. So and I'm maybe you know this, but I'm going to be taking a megabus trip.
You did tell me that, yeah.
That's going to be interesting. I'll be 9 days on megabus covering wide swaths of the U.S. It's interesting. Megabus is a new alternative to Greyhound, and I've had some good experiences on Greyhound. I've had some horrible experiences on Greyhound.
Right.
But I like the fact that we've got an alternative. I've taken the megabus from Des Moines to Chicago several times.
Right.
Liked it. But this will be a much longer trip, a lot more diversity. We'll see how it comes together.
So is this your first megabus trip then?
Beyond just Chicago, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I did look into Amtrak as well. It's just part of the problem with Amtrak is the closest stop to Des Moines is an hour away.
Right.
And a lot of places you might want to go, the train doesn't go anywhere near there.
Right.
And so I'm really excited to see this idea of moving, a passenger rail through central Iowa taking hold.
Well, I think we've got to look beyond the issues, the problems that are on the table with it right now, and look at what passenger rail can bring to the state of Iowa. When we have greater opportunities for mass transportation to Chicago and Omaha, it opens up business opportunities. It opens up job opportunities for lots of Iowans. It's also going to bring lots of people here to the state of Iowa. So I see this as a positive thing, and we need to move forward on it. And I'm very disappointed we haven't at this point.
Well, hopefully that will change. And again, hopefully the constituents of the lawmakers and the governor who are opposing this will speak out. But I think also we've got to be aware. Let's be realistic. There's money involved that I think does not want to see this go forward.
Well, sure. Anytime there's change in the future, there's going to be vested interests that want to keep that from happening.
Folks, if you'd like to join the conversation, State Representative Dan Kelly, my guest today, the second state lawmaker we've had on the program this week.
Oh,
Marty Anderson was on earlier this week. So
Representative-elect.
Yes, Representative-elect
Yes.
Marty
Yes.
Anderson. She's got another couple weeks before.
Yeah, I'm excited about serving with her.
Yeah, she'll be a wonderful addition to the State House.
Yes.
Okay, so let me switch gears on you, Dan. A big conversation it looks like we're going to have at the State House this year is over business incentives, property tax reductions for businesses. I mean, the state is sitting pretty good right now.
Right.
There's a bunch of money. What, $700 million?
Yeah, new reports just out yesterday. I've listened to the radio on the way up here. They're talking about the new reports, and they're all positive.
Yeah, it's surprising.
But we still need to be cautious because there was a drought this summer, and things can change quickly. But the current report is good.
So, do you side with those who say keep it in rainy day funds, don't spend it?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what the topic is on the table. We can use funds to help our schools, to promote education, if we can use our funds to promote renewable fuels, and also if we can use our funds to fight drug issues and help our rural communities move forward in that respect, I'm all for it. So, yeah, those funds there are good purposes that can be used.
And what about Governor Branstad's pushing for this property tax reduction, and he's already been pushing. We just saw him approve, basically behind closed doors, the largest ever corporate handout in the state's history to an Egyptian fertilizer company. $251 million altogether when you factor in state and local resources. That's a lot of taxpayer dollars for one business.
Right.
In fact, if you look at the 165 jobs that the plant is saying it will create, that's $1.5 million subsidy per job. And and Branstad's arguing that, well, we can avoid that by changing the tax climate, but then you also see them talking more and more about other types of incentives. And meanwhile, this whole fund of funds is coming under attack.
Right.
It just seems like there's going to be a strong push to use that money for more corporate giveaways. What's your sense of that?
Well, I think you have to look at those on a case-by-case basis. We've got lots of good folks out there working on economic development, both at the city levels and at the county levels, and we need to have programs and opportunities for them to move forward with bringing businesses to Iowa and to our local districts. But still, there are examples of overdoing it, and I just don't see it as black and white, Ed. I see it as there are opportunities. We've got to deal with it on a case-by-case basis, and if it were not for some of the incentives, some of the wind industry in Newton may not be there.
Yeah, and I think you can make an argument that a new industry that has clear public benefit, and again in this case, shifting our energy foundation from coal and oil to something renewable like wind.
Right.
I think you can make an argument that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But,
well, and I just use that as an example because it hits very close to home for me.
But I'm not sure the subsidies to Maytag made much sense years ago because those happened, and then wasn't that long after that Maytag pulled up its stakes and moved out of town.
Right.
And gave the CEO a big bonus.
I don't know all the details about it, but I know that at one time there was an incentive given to Maytag, and the effort was to keep jobs there, and Maytag spent the money on a robotic piece of equipment that actually replaced a few jobs. So, it's got to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. And it's
well. How do you feel about the specific case of Orascom,
of the fertilizer
plant? $251 million for the fertilizer company.
Well, I'm going to have to just say that it's not in my district, and I don't know enough about that specific situation to have a firm feeling one way or the other, but it does seem as though quite a bit of money for a smaller number of jobs. What did you say, 165?
165 jobs.
Yeah.
And at the same, a couple of weeks later, we have another 71 million, I think it is, going to a fertilizer company on the west coast of Iowa.
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways in which this makes you want to pull out what little is left of my hair.
Right.
It's so much money. It's such a huge amount of money. And you could argue that, well, if we're spending over $300 million on 2 fertilizer plants, what could we have done to help the wind energy industry, not just in Newton, but in other parts of the state?
Right. And again, I just have to defer to the idea that I don't know enough about this specific situation. to really have a firm.
And that's why the Fallon Forum exists.
Right, it is.
To educate you and other legislators so you know how to vote responsibly.
It is.
Don't talk to a lot. Just come and talk to me.
Well, I don't believe we've ever had a vote on this actual fertilizer
No, you haven't.
plant.
But I
No.
mean, what happened was the Economic Development Authority was set up to basically replace what used to be an entirely public agency. It's allowed them to operate with increased powers behind closed doors. I mean, did you see this coming? I mean, I found out about it in the paper.
Well, that's a problem in and of itself.
Yeah.
There needs to be more public input and
awareness,
more awareness, and more a larger voice from the legislature on these issues.
So maybe that can be addressed this year, as Governor Branstad is talking about giving away the surplus to his corporate friends.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be some conversation about how to bring the light of day into the deliberations.
Right. I mean, that's the real issue on the table. That doesn't get talked about much because we talk about the specifics of this particular situation. We need to talk about how the decision was made and where those voices were and why there wasn't more input.
So what do you see happening at the State House? I mean, we talked last week, I guess, but things are always moving, always
weeks
changing.
ago, yeah.
Yeah. What's the latest on what we might expect to see at the state capitol?
Well, as you know, the committee assignments have come out recently, and I think you can get a kind of a feel for maybe some of the bills that may be discussed based on who's in what position,
right,
and so forth. I haven't had a chance to look real hard at what the committee assignments are on the other side of the aisle, but I think on our side we've got a real solid lineup. People are in the right position on the right committees, and Representative McCarthy and leadership did a great job with those committee assignments. I serve in the ranking member position on the Administration and Regulations budget. Last session we did. There was quite a bit of talk about the Office of Drug Control Policy, and there were some cuts proposed, and some cuts did happen to that office, but that's something that I'm real interested in working on and focusing on this next session, making sure that we have a strong Office of Drug Control Policy and that they have the proper funding to get the job done, because it's a tool that rural communities need to fight drug issues within those towns. So on a personal level, that's something that I've got my eye on. I'm very hopeful that we can move forward on some of the issues and some of the discussions that need to happen in terms of promoting jobs, promoting business and industry, and making sure workers are treated fairly in the state of Iowa, and move beyond some of these divisive social issues that have really hit us in the last couple of years. I've only been in the legislature for one term for 2 years, and I hear from folks that have been there for a very long time that our last assembly was one of the most divisive that they can remember, and we need to move beyond that. We need to move beyond some of the divisive social issues. And I support same-sex marriage. I will always support same-sex marriage, and that's not going to change.
Yeah, we should be done with that. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's not going to change. So,
Bob Vanderplas, it's time just to become a footnote in history,
right,
not a favorable one, and just move on. I mean,
right.
I mean, look, 4 states across the country going the right way in that discussion.
Right. We should be proud that we have it here in the state of Iowa. And
if you're not proud of it, then be that way. But
right,
don't continue to try to make it an issue when we have so many pressing concerns.
But frankly, I think we need to focus on jobs in this assembly, and I'm hopeful that both parties are ready to do that.
Yeah, you make it your wish, and I just hope it's about local businesses, small businesses,
right,
family farmers, and not about just more corporate incentives for Egyptian fertilizer companies and other big entities that don't need it.
And we need to focus on the Main Street businesses.
Exactly.
I mean,
Main Street, not Wall Street.
Main Street.
Can we make that the official Dan Kelly slogan?
Main Street, not Wall Street. I think that's been tried a few times.
It works.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Ed. And next time I'm going to bring your Christmas present.
Goody.
Well,
that'll be after the New Year's, but that's okay.
It's a 2013 Mayan calendar. So
2013 Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
I won't need that after the 21st, will I?
We'll see.
2013 Mayan
All right. Somebody
Kelly.
out there got that.
Dan Kelly, funny guy. All right. Hey, folks, thanks for sticking around. Hey, Max Wellman has another weekend of concerts coming up, and we're going to give away 2 free tickets to Max Wellman's performances. One of his performances this coming weekend, the performance of your choice. Look for details on that. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, and there'll be details on my website and or Facebook page. Tomorrow we'll give away a couple tickets to Max's concert. I also want to thank Fighting Burrito for sponsoring this segment of the program and encourage you to check out Fighting Burrito at 13th and Locust. Again, this is a great local addition to our restaurant venue, not just for lunch, but for supper as well. Fighting Burrito, very affordable, very creative. You build your own burrito. Check it out, folks. Join the fight. I also want to thank Webcast One Live for hosting the show. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my wonderful producer. Despite having a bad hair day once, she still came around and pulled it off today. I want to remind you that Brad, almost sound like Elmer Fudd there for a second. I want to remind you that Bradshaw will be with you at 1:30, and tomorrow, got a great lineup for you tomorrow. Richard Wolff is going to be talking about the fiscal cliff. Richard Wolff is a professor, a writer. Ron Yarnell has talked with him about coming on our program. He'll be with us tomorrow. Also, Mike Alvik with Megabus. As I told you, I'm going to spend 9 days on Megabus, so I want to ask Mike whether they're going to keep me comfortable or not. Also tomorrow, Ottumwa author and poet Judy Bresch will join us. We have a great lineup for you. Stick around for that. Talk to you later.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture.